Good evening, everyone. Tonight we're going to read John chapter 10, verses 1 through 7. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that entereth not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. But he that entereth in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the porter openeth, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calleth his own sheep by name, and leadeth them out. And when he pulleth forth his own sheep, he goeth before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. And a stranger will they not follow, but will flee from him, for they know not the voice of strangers. This parable spake Jesus unto them, but they understood not what things they were which he spake. Let's go over a couple questions that we have here. What do you think Jesus uses the example of sheep and a sheep herd here? Jesus always had a way of making the spiritual truths easy to understand. The people in his time were familiar with sheep and shepherds. It was part of their everyday life. But I think he chose this example because it shows how personal and protective the relationship between us is. A shepherd doesn't lead sheep, he lives with them, defends them, knows them by name. Um, that's the kind of connection Jesus wants with us. He's not distant, he's involved. What does it mean when Jesus says the sheep knows the shepherd's voice? It's about relationship and recognition that the sheep don't follow just anyone that they hear. They follow the one they've learned to trust, the one that's been there for them. It's the same with us and Jesus. When we spend time with him, pray, stay in his word, we learn to recognize what his voice sounds like in our heart. The more we know him, the more clearly we can hear him, um, even when there's noise all around us. In what ways are we sometimes like sheep spiritually? Sheep aren't known to be smart. They wander, they get lost. They're very valuable. Spiritually, we're the same. We drift when we don't stay close to Jesus. We chase things that look good but lead us into danger. Um, but just like a shepherd doesn't give up on his sheep, Jesus doesn't give up on us. He comes looking for us over and over again. Why didn't the people understand the parable? Because they were hearing what he was saying, but they weren't listening to him. They were looking at Jesus with their own assumptions and their own pride. And sometimes when our hearts are hard or distracted, we miss what God's saying right in front of us. Understanding spiritual truth requires spiritual openness. Um, they had ears, but their heart wasn't open to hearing. What voices in today's world compete with the voice of the true shepherd? There's a lot. Uh, Social media, culture, self-help influencers. You know, you have your own fears and emotions. The world is loud, and there's a lot of things out there trying to convince us who we should do or should be or what will make us happy. Those voices often lead to anxiety, confusion. Only Jesus' voice leads us to peace, purpose, and truth. That's why we have to intentionally be intentional about who we're listening to, not just listening to anyone or any voice. How can we better recognize the voice of Jesus in their day-to-day lives. It starts with spending time with Him daily, prayer, worship, reading the Scripture, reading the Word. Just like you recognize a friend's voice because you've talked to him so many times, the more you spend time with Jesus, the easier it becomes to know Him, know when He's speaking to us. And it's also about quieting the noise, making space to hear, not just talk. Sometimes Jesus speaks in the stillness, but we're too busy to notice. Good evening, everyone. Tonight we're going to go over John chapter 10. We're going to read verses 1 through 7. We're going to break this chapter up into two different classes, two sections each. There's a lot to unpack in these, so I don't want to rush through this chapter. So we'll get started. John chapter 10, verse 1. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that earneth not, I don't even like the way that sounds.